N.T. Wright is one of the most famous New Testament scholars in the world, and he just released a new revised edition of his translation of the New Testament. It's called The New Testament for Everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you the latest edition of it, walk you through it, do a full review, and I'm also going to tell you what I think of his translation. N.T. Wright just released the third edition of his translation of the New Testament. It used to be called the Kingdom New Testament, but the updated and revised edition is now called the New Testament for Everyone. It's the same thing. It's been lightly revised by him recently. They basically, I think what he said in the introduction to this is that they were doing an audio version of the book, so he went through all of it and made some revisions, and they've basically rebranded it as the New Testament for Everyone, which is also the name of the commentary series that he has. I actually love that commentary series. I have the entire set. I've used it a lot when I study the New Testament. It's a really approachable, easy to understand commentary series through the entire New Testament. And this translation of the Bible is the one that he worked on as he was doing that translation. So, a couple of things. A, I wish I would have recorded an unboxing video because I assumed that the new edition was basically going to be the same as the old one, which is great. It's kind of got some nice thick paper. It kind of feels more like a book than a Bible. It's got a single column design. It's got maps and things throughout it. And that is what the new Bible is, but I was really shocked when I saw the size of it. It's extremely thin. It's less than an inch thick. And when I opened it up, I realized, oh, it's a new typesetting. It's got a huge 11-point typeface. It's got this like bluish green accents on the page. It looks really modern. I absolutely love the way that this turned out. It still has all of those maps and things in it, and I'm going to do an overhead in just a moment and walk you through it. But I really like the way that it looks and feels. It's like a great thin edition of the New Testament, and it comes, there's a hardcover edition, there's this, which is a leather soft edition, and then yes, there is an audio version of this that is actually read by N.T. Wright himself. So let's talk real quick about the translation itself before I talk about the actual physical copy of the book. So I've shared this on my channel before, but back in 2020, I was a visiting scholar at Wycliffe Hall, which is part of the University of Oxford, and that is where N.T. Wright works as a senior fellow, where he does all of his writing and his research from, is right there at Wycliffe Hall. And it was during the COVID era, so I didn't get a ton of one-on-one time with him during that term, but I did get to speak with him a couple of times, and he gave me his email address, and he and I actually had several email exchanges back and forth, and the thing that I was asking him about was Bible translation. So I got to hear his thoughts on some specific Bible translations, some things that he likes and dislikes about the way Bible translation works. I actually am quoting N.T. Wright in the opening chapter of my book about Bible translations that I'm currently working on because I thought he had some really interesting things to say over the years about Bible translation. So I'm very fond of him. I got to hear him that term teach all the way through Philippians. He taught every Monday morning. I would go with 30 or 40 other people to a church down the street, and I would listen to him teach through Philippians, and it was always so good. And the small amount of time that I got with him one-on-one, he was very kind and very welcoming and warm. And so he's definitely someone that I have read a bunch of his work over the years. I know a lot of people don't like his theology and have disagreed with him, and he's been really generous, I think, and how he engages with people who disagree with him about things. But I have found his books to be really illuminating and challenging and insightful. Maybe I don't always agree with everything he says, but I really do love his writing, and it's been helpful to me. I probably read my first N.T. Wright book 20 years ago, maybe, and I've read at least a dozen of them since then, and being able to hear him teach through Philippians and kind of have that personal connection a little bit has been really special. So, and as I mentioned earlier, I've used his New Testament for Everyone commentary series, particularly when I was a youth pastor and I was working with teenagers. I would use that series. I purchased that series when I was a youth pastor, prior to having gone to seminary, because when I was teaching middle schoolers and high schoolers, I was looking for a little bit more to help me make the text make sense to me and make the text make sense to them. And I found his commentary series to be really easy to engage with for me and for them. So I really appreciated that. And this is the translation that developed out of that. So as a translation, I would say it's a balance between accurate and readable. You know, there's that spectrum of word-for-word translations, often called formal equivalents, and thought-for-thought translations, often called dynamic or functional equivalents. And N.T. Wright is a great Greek scholar. He knows what he's doing. He knows the Greek language very well. When I was talking to him about how he studies the Bible, he mentioned, well, I use my translation. He mentioned the NRSV, and he said, I always have a Greek Bible open in front of me too. So when he reads the New Testament, he reads it in Greek. But his concept of translating, particularly in this edition, is one where he wants it to be readable in modern language for people. So I'd say I have not done like a real in-depth analysis of this translation, but I have flipped through this and read a bunch of different familiar texts. As I'm recording this, I'm currently preaching, my pastor's on sabbatical, and I'm preaching through a big portion of Acts at my church this month. And so I've been reading through Acts in this translation because I've been reading a lot of it in the NIV and the NRSV and the ESV as I've been studying for this sermon series. So I've been kind of comparing it to those a little bit. And what I would say is that there are a lot of places where he really sticks closely to that kind of formal equivalence. But then by and large, I think he's wording things in a way that is a little bit more familiar for today's readers. I would definitely put it in the thought-for-thought dynamic translation category, probably somewhere around the NIV or maybe somewhere between the NIV and the NLT, the New Living Translation on the translation spectrum. But I think it stays really faithful to the Greek text. I think it doesn't sound, it's not something like The Message, where a lot of people call Eugene Peterson's The Message a paraphrase because it's so modern and so unique. I think it still sounds like the Bible when I read it, but I actually put a little a marker in here. Like, for example, one of the places that sounds really fresh and unique to me is one of the most famous verses in the Bible, John 3:16. So let me read this to you. This is John 3:16. You and I both know when I say John 3:16, we go, for God so loved. Those are definitely the first words. But listen to this. This, you see, is how much God loved the world, enough to give his only special Son, so that everyone who believes in him should not be lost, but should share in the life of God's new age. So there you see some of his kind of New Testament theology, the kingdom of God theology that N.T. Wright has kind of coming out in that text, but it definitely still sounds like what that verse says. It's not so modern that it loses that kind of historical flair. And I could read tons of different verses that do that. I could also find verses in here that sound very much like a formal equivalence translation. So I think it's pretty well balanced, but definitely leans into that dynamic translation category. And what I really love about this is just the way that it turned out. This is being produced by Zondervan, my friends at Zondervan, and I think the design of it, the typesetting, the overall size, the fact that it's got an 11-point typeface, it's just really nice and comfortable. It also comes with new book introductions that he wrote. It's got a few slight changes from the previous editions if you've seen those, but it's got a new preface, it's got new book introductions, it's got a lot of different maps and things like that. So as you're reading about the Apostle Paul's missionary journeys and things, you get little pictures of that happening in the Bible. So it's definitely an engaging text. There's a glossary in the back. Anyway, I'm going to walk you through it, do an overhead video, kind of show you what this Bible has to offer. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the translation so you could kind of hear about it. But I definitely think it's a unique study tool. Obviously, you don't have the whole Bible. There's not an Old Testament translation by N.T. Wright, so it's not going to be your main Bible. But I do think it's a nice way to read the New Testament with a fresh lens from a new perspective, and I really love how this edition turned out. Okay, between the time that I recorded the intro and this overhead video, the hardcover edition showed up as well. So there is a hardcover edition of this New Testament for everyone. It looks really nice. You can see like a translation of the good news for everyone. Really beautiful design. This is kind of the new branding, the new look for this third edition that's been rebranded. Now, the hardcover edition did come in a little slipcase, and then the leather soft edition comes in a nice little clamshell box. So same information. There's all the features. Everything that's included in the back of this Bible. So both of these, the overall size is going to be, it's kind of the size of like a big reference Bible. It's 6 1/4 inches wide, it's 9 1/4 inches tall, but it's only because it's just the New Testament, it's less than an inch thick. This is about 3/4 of an inch thick by my measurements. Both of them look really nice. I think they turned out great. So let's just open this up real quick. Some nice gold end sheets. The New Testament for Everyone, third edition. So again, the previous editions, I'll bring this in real quick, they were called the Kingdom New Testament. I believe this is the second edition, the paperback edition. So they've kind of rebranded it, but it's the same text. It's just been lightly updated and rebranded. So A fresh translation by N.T. Wright. Here's your copyright page. There you see it says 2011, 2018, 2019, and this edition is 2023, printed in India. The text here, then you get a table of contents, list of all the different maps, because there's a lot of different maps. Look at all the different maps that are located inside just this New Testament. This is the preface to the first and second editions, the original preface, and then there's a short preface from N.T. Wright here from the third edition where he talks about some of these slight edits that he made based on putting this into an audiobook form. So this comes in these 2 physical copies as well as an audiobook. He did some light editing, so that makes it the third edition. He also added this introduction. So there's an introduction to the project, to the New Testament. He kind of goes through the different types of literature, the Gospels, Acts, the letters, Revelation. You get an overview map here to start things off, just to set yourself in Israel at the time. And then you also get book introductions. So this is a little 2-page introduction about the Gospel of Matthew. I love the green kind of accent color on the page, and you're going to see that that goes all the way through the text. Now look at this. Look at how great that looks. It's a single column typesetting. It's an 11-point typeface. It literally leaps off the page. You get these big, bold chapter numbers. The verse numbers are a little bit less bold. They're just there if you need them, so I like it. Kind of makes it easy to read. The single column design is great. You get page numbers at the bottom of each page. You get in the margins, kind of going vertically, you get your headers. So it's just a very unique kind of modern look and feel. You see some of the settings and the line breaks and everything for the different sections of scripture. I think this just reads really beautiful. It's easy to manage. So you're getting a translation from N.T. Wright, and again, like I said, it's going to be somewhere kind of in that functional equivalence translation. The modern design actually fits that type of translation to me. You're adding from the old versions, if you have the old versions, some slight updates as well as those new book introductions. And then as you go through, you'll see you get dozens of maps that are kind of thrown throughout the Bible in the key places that they kind of line up with. So you get a little bit of the pictures. I think the most that I saw them was in the book of Acts because it kind of maps out some of Paul's missionary journeys and things like that. So you get a lot more kind of context. I like that because I like to see things and kind of get a mental picture of where it's happening. So there's 2 maps on 2 pages. There we get into it, a lot of them here. And these are kind of the key places where I think N.T. Wright is kind of known for, the history of Paul the Apostle, some of his writings and letters, those sorts of things. But overall, the paper feels really nice. The inside of the Leathersoft edition is the exact same, but it's got rounded page edges, and it's got a little bit of gold gilding on the pages that looks really nice. But this is a nice kind of synthetic leather, but you see how it has a nice little look to it. And then at the very, very back, so Revelation ends on page 513. So it's not very long. It's just the New Testament, 513. And then you get a glossary of different terms. So some key terms that you can find throughout the New Testament. This is probably 10 or 12 pages total. Yeah, looks like it's 11 pages total. And then you get an alphabetical list of the books of the Bible at the back. No maps or anything other than the maps that are in the text. There's no maps in the back of the Bible. But overall, I like the size of it. I love the size of the typeface and the design, the typesetting design. I think it looks really nice. It really draws me in, single column. The physical form of this really turned out nice. So there you have it. That's the New Testament for Everyone by N.T. Wright. There's a hardcover edition as well as this Leathersoft edition. I will put a link in the video description so you can find those online. If you have any thoughts or questions, please drop those in the comments and I will get back to you with a response. As always, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, so please come say hi on social media. I would love to get to know you there as well. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.